Okay. Wow, I think it works. I think it's working. I think it's excellent. I think that you guys should be able to hear me okay. All right. Yay. Looks like we're live now. So, we always start just a couple minutes early to give everybody a chance to get here. And then, start a couple minutes late. Today is, uh, I have to test drive my contact lenses for like a week to make sure that they work. Unfortunately, I normally wear, bifocals. So today is March 26th, 2019. It is 7 o'clock. It's a Tuesday. Today's, I know, today's class is going to be on forgiveness and all the weird and fun things that go with that. We're going to, of course, do a recap of everything that we've had, everything that we've covered up to this point. This is, we only have 2 more sessions after this. I think that making it go on indefinitely is really kind of pointless. But we will have, we'll have other courses in the future. Hopefully a little bit better organized because this is the first time I've done it via live stream ever, I think we recorded like a Reiki class that I did in a shop, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. Like 24 people showed up. It was insane. And I think I might have talked about this before. So 24 people showed up for a level 1 Reiki class. Super, super easy stuff. 5 principles, this is how it is. But all these people were expecting their first attunement that night. I got very clever, and they did all successfully get attuned. It was very cool. If you guys are, can you hear me okay, is really my first question. Because I'm, instead of turning off my fan, I'm trying it with a Bluetooth earbud instead to use as a mic. So let me know. All right, excellent. So far, so good. Perfect. I have lots of good notes to go over with you guys as well. Still not a sponsor. Should be though. Let's see. I honestly don't know if we're expecting any students in person today. Doesn't bother me either way. If we did, then we would, I don't know, show off some tapping sessions and things like that. Although usually it's Aramis who shows up, and since we're talking about forgiveness, I don't think he's harbored a grudge against anyone ever. Well, maybe himself. And that's kind of one of the interesting things is that, and I think Sarah saw this in the last class that she was in with me on forgiveness. And that is that, a lot of people carry around a lot of pain, and they carry around a lot of anger. And when it comes time to apply forgiveness, almost every time people put themselves in line first. They want to resolve their own issues. They want to resolve their anger with themselves before anybody else. Now, this is not a bad thing. Not at all. But it's a little weird. The first couple of times it happened, I thought it was a little strange. But at the same time, I think the kind of people that are sort of attracted to this sort of process and to this type of class sort of naturally have a level of self-awareness to be able to recognize that, you know, you have to deal with your own shit first before you can knock anybody else's out. Um, so it's 7 o'clock. Um, we'll give it just a few more minutes. I know that there were some new people who said that they wanted to pop in, so we'll give them a minute or two to show up. And, you know, because these are available in perpetuity, I am still gonna recap everything that we've been over so far, because, you know, every class builds on the previous classes, and that's a smart way to do it. So where are my notes? To briefly recap where we were before and how far we've come. So we started off talking about Reiki as a principle. On the method that I teach specifically is Usui Reiki, and that's just the stuff that Mikao Usui Sensei brought to us, probably around 1915, 1917, somewhere in there. And you know, it was a very, very basic uh, self-awareness method, meditation, consciousness. Um, from that, you know, it was easy to derive the 5 principles, which of course, you know, we went over in extreme detail. And then it is used also as a method of self-healing and healing others. And of course, Dr. Hayashi is the one who modified and expressed Reiki, specifically in a medical practice. He introduced it to Mrs. Takada, who was a Japanese American woman in Hawaii in the 1940s and 50s. And so it's from that medical healing perspective that Reiki came to her. And of course, then she brought it on to everybody else. And you know, there was a little bit of confusion there about the origins of Reiki, and you know, Dr. Usui being professor of theology at Doshisha University in Tokyo, I think it was, and it turns out he lived in Kyoto. And uh, okay, cool. But it's okay. I mean, we forgive that because it got us to where we need to be now that we know the truth, that he was a Buddhist his whole life, that this was, you know, a natural process. We're good. Everything's great. All right. 5 principles, briefly recapping. Just for today, I will anger not. Just for today, I will worry not. Just for today, I will be grateful. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. And just for today, I will treat myself and all living things with compassion and respect. And we say just for today because we're not going to worry about yesterday. We're not going to worry about tomorrow. We're just going to make the commitment today. And that's it. Tomorrow, we make a brand new commitment. That's fine. But today, just for today, I'm not going to go out of my way to piss people off. Just for today, I am not going to dwell in anger. If I feel anger, I'm going to use it as a signpost. I'm going to go, okay, what's my fear? What's my concern? How am I going to deal with that? Same with worry, being grateful, do your work honestly, be in your moment, apply yourself to who and what you are doing right now, who you're with, and what you're doing. There we go. Wow, that was fun. And then, of course, treat yourself first, and then all other living creatures with compassion and respect. Respect who they are, respect what they are, what their nature is, and do so for yourself as well. Treat yourself kindly, treat yourself uh, well. Anyway, then we talked about using our words. We talked about how to express ourselves well, being conscious of the words that we use, watching out for excessive negativity, watching out for excessive positivity. Let's not eschew the important elements of our emotions just because they feel uncomfortable. Grab them by the throat and deal with them correctly. You know, don't run away from your anger, but don't dwell on it either. What does this mean? We also went over muscle testing, which is an important way to kind of tell ourselves, excuse me, to be able to tell what it is we're angry about. Like as an Audie, as an autistic person, I actually have a really hard time identifying what my emotions are in any given moment. If I feel agitated, am I angry? Am I hungry? Am I sad? Do I feel threatened? What do I feel threatened by? And so muscle testing, and this is that little thing that we were doing. That's a very, very powerful tool. Now that brought us up to last week, and last week is when we actually went over the tapping method, EFT specifically. And emotional freedom technique is a very powerful, immediate method that allows us to release things pretty much immediately and permanently, as long as you go through the process honestly. I think we're about 5-6 minutes into the actual class itself after 7. So I'm going to go over tapping again one more time. I'm going to show it to you so that it's fresh in your mind. I hope that you've been practicing this week. We're going to go through it again. So we think of an emotion. We think of an event or an experience, something where we know we're stuck and we're not getting past it. Okay? I'm just going to use general terms because I don't really have anything I need to work on immediately. But we are rubbing this lymph cluster right here. Okay, it's right over, and it can be either side. I just like doing it over my heart because I do. So we're rubbing this lymph cluster here, and we're saying our statement. Even though I feel this way about this event, or about this person, or about this subject, even though I feel this negative thing, I love and accept myself totally. So we're taking this negative thing and we're replacing it with love. And it's the most perfect love there is. It is self-love. So even though I feel this way about this thing, I love and accept myself totally. And we say it 3 times. We're going to hit our acupressure points. So right here, okay, right on the very, very top of your head. And you're focusing on your negative emotion. The whole time you're doing this, focus on your negative emotion. Oh, I feel this way. This one feel. Right? Remember, right here, not here in the middle. It's right here. It's right at the very, very beginning of your eyebrow. Right here, outside of your orbital. Okay? Right here under your eye. So your pupil, if you're going straight forward, your pupil goes right down into it. Divot on the top of the lip. Okay? Divot on the bottom of the lip. This acupressure point right here. So the point of your clavicle. Okay? Go out an inch and down an inch. And there it is right there. And then right here under your arm, like straight over from your nipple, right under your arm, straight over, straight down from your nipple to the front of your chest, and then here on the outside of your hand, okay? And use all 4 fingers because there's actually a couple of points here you're hitting. And you close your hand, not too tight, and right here, okay, that's your gamut point. And you're going to tap that while you're doing your EMDR, eyes down, so down to one side, down to the other side, all the way around, all the way around. It doesn't matter which one is first. Does not matter. Okay? Hum a song in your head, nice and short. I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy. Count to 5 in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hum a song in your head. I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy. Big deep breath. That's it. All there is to it. Give it a couple minutes. Give it a couple minutes for things to shake down, to settle down, things like that. Reassess, reassess, reassess. So when we're identifying our emotion, when we're identifying the thing that we have to work on, the first thing that we really want to do is focus on the emotion, and we want to kind of put it on a scale of 1 to 10. All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I could give two shits, and 10 being, oh my God, most people are about, for something that's truly intense, about a 7 or an 8. Perfect. That's fine. Try to make it as strong as you can. If, however, and this is super fucking important, I love you guys. Please don't fuck yourselves up. If you are trying to get in touch with an emotion, you're trying to get in touch with a feeling, and you are sitting by yourself and you're at an 8 or a 9 or a 10, and you can't say the words yourself, or you are incredibly stuck in that moment. Back up, don't tap, contact one of us, me, of course, I'm always available, pretty much. And you don't even have to be in person. You can be on the phone. I've done this via text with people that didn't really understand exactly what I was doing, with phenomenal effect. So just understand, Reiki's awesome. So remember, going back to the whole Reiki part, Reiki comes with 4 symbols, the way we do it. Lots of others, that's fine. The ones that we use, pick the ones you like. The Chokore, which is the amplifier or the volume knob. Seiheki, which is the chill channel. Smooth jazz. And Hanshazi Shonen, which is basically the TARDIS. Means that we can be anywhere, we can be any when, we can be wherever we need to be. And because Reiki is a vehicle and a playmate more than its own thing. I mean, it is its own thing, but it loves to play. Yeah, I've used it a lot with EFT and other people. And I think I told you guys about my experiences with Toby and my friend in South Africa. That was definitely one of those EFT Reiki moments there. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about any of that stuff so far? Does everybody remember how to do it? And can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. Well, I know you do. All right. Cool. So now we're going to get down to the serious stuff, okay? Today's main topic, is forgiveness, right? It's a big one. I tell people, if there's one class you're going to drop in on, this is the one to drop in on, because it's the one where we get down to the nitty gritty. Now, forgiveness is a touchy subject for a lot of people, because in order to need to forgive, you have to have been hurt. You can hurt yourself and require forgiveness, as we were talking about a little bit before. You can hurt other people, require forgiveness, but hurt has to have happened. Injury has to have occurred. And, a lot of religions, Christianity, are very adamant about the need for forgiveness. But one of the things that drove me crazy, and I was raised Roman Catholic, or rather, I should say, I was raised in the Roman Catholic Church. One of the things that drove me crazy is they're going on and on and on about forgiveness. And not a single person, not a nun, none of the sisters, none of the priests, nobody could tell me how. How do you forgive someone? What's the process? How do you do that? And, I'd like to say, oh, because I was young and they didn't think that I'd understand, but I don't really think that's true. Because even when I got older, I still got well, you just do it. And I'm like, that's not a thing. You can't just do something like that. I mean, how do you reconcile it? And then I hit on something. Um, and I know that I'm not the first person to have ever discussed this, but I think it's something that I know I've run across a few different times. And that is that forgiveness requires us to go through the exact same process as grieving. Okay? So to give a little refresher on this, the process of grieving is shock and denial. And I mean like true loss, like somebody's dead, taking a dirt nap with baby Jesus, worm food, pushing up the daisies, however you want to say it. No longer among the living, shuffled off the mortal coil, moving in a different direction, permanently relocated on a planar level, shock and denial. I can't believe that's got to be crazy. I mean, I just saw him last week. He can't be dead. That's just, somebody must be messing with me. Okay, super funny. Ha ha ha. Yeah, whatever. Anger. Son of a bitch. What the shit? I literally just saw him last week. How could this have happened? I mean, and pick something to be angry at or to or about. Car accident or suicide or overdose or cancer or heart attack or whatever. Be mad at the person, be mad at the circumstance, but anger is there. And sometimes you don't even have a word or a thing to attach it to. You're just mad. Sadness. Because now I'm never going to see them again. I can't call them on the phone. I can send all the emails I want, and they're not coming. They're not going to get replied to. I'm never going to see them pop up online. I'm never going to be able to hold them or hug them. They're gone. And that leaves an emptiness. That's sad. Bargaining. Man, if only I'd called him. Maybe things would be different. Maybe he wouldn't have gotten in the car. Maybe he wouldn't have needed to get a high. Maybe he, wouldn't have had that drink. Maybe I could have kept him awake, and it wouldn't have happened. Maybe we would have been on the phone, and I could have gotten a paramedic to him in time. Maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that, and the bargaining stage also comes with a lot of the other regrets. Man, I wish I told him how I felt. Man, I wish I'd paid him his $50 back. Man, I wish, if only I coulda. And we go through this, and finally at the end, we reach acceptance. And acceptance is when we know that they're gone and they're not coming back. And we are starting to allow the fluid of our lives to fill in the hole. And when we have people are like our firmament. It's the soil, it's the dirt, it's the earth. These are our solid things. And when part of that is gone, when it's taken away so suddenly, the fluid of us, our emotions, our feels, our thoughts, our nature, our actions, can't really deal with this emptiness just yet. And it takes a while to flow back in and fill that in. Eventually, the edges aren't so sharp and the walls aren't so hard, and it erodes, and we're still affected by that hole. It's always going to be there. But it doesn't have to be like it was never it doesn't have to be like it was never there. I I say with reasonable amount of certainty, I remember every person I've ever buried. And I've buried a lot of people. I mean, on a personal level, and no, I'm not a mortician. Just people that I've known have passed away, and it's a long list, and I'm not going to get into it because there are some people who will probably be watching this at some time who will get extremely bummed out. But likewise, when we are hurt and we have to go through the process of forgiveness, it takes a divot out of our firmament. It absolutely does. And if we are holding back, we have these walls that are keeping our waters from flowing correctly, the right way. I just like to think of it more like a gas, but most people like to think of water in ponds, but I'm weird, that. It takes a divot out of us when somebody has hurt us. So why is forgiveness and grieving the same thing? And the short version is that in both cases, we are suffering a loss that affects us indelibly, and that we have to recover ourselves from. Okay? Checking my notes, hang on. Okay. In both the cases of forgiveness and grieving, we've lost something precious to us. Now, let's put that into context. One of the examples that I use kind of frequently is your friend stole your wallet. Okay? Can't believe they stole my wallet. It's got to be around here somewhere. I mean, that's just, why would anybody take that? That's just crazy. I mean, everybody knows it's my wallet. Oh my God, that bitch took my fucking wallet. What the hell? Man, this is going to completely fuck up our relationship. And man, we get through so much together. And now I just don't know if I can ever trust her again. If I'd been out, please, no, go. If I'd been a better friend, if I had, why wasn't I more open? Why wasn't I paying attention? Did I let this happen? Did I do something to make her mad? If only, if only, if only. And okay, it's proven, it's clear, she stole my wallet. All right, now it's time to confront it. I know what I'm going to do about it. If I confront her and she denies it, even though I know I have proof, I know that she's somebody I can't trust and I have to take action. But, if she owns up to it, gives me my wallet back, explains to me what happens, of course our relationship's never going to be the same. But at least then, we have something left and we can build something new, something different. Is she ever going to be in the presence of my wallet again? Absolutely not. But I understand her better now. Okay. At no point in time are you grieving the loss of your wallet. You're just not. You're grieving the loss of your friend. Because your friend is the part that you can forgive. Okay? When we lose our wallet, if it had like our rent money in it, okay, that's fear, that's anger, that's a whole other thing. But we're not going to grieve the wallet itself. We're not grieving the money itself. We are concerned and we're worried about our house and our, bills and stuff. Not that this has ever actually happened to me. But when we talk about forgiveness, there's nothing to forgive if you lose your wallet. That's grieving. Go through your grieving process. Figure out how you're going to do that. Forgiveness is dealing with a person. And a lot of times, when someone dies and we're still mad at them because they hurt us and we were never able to confront them about it, we have to go through both at the same time. It's funky, but it can be done, and it can be done well. Now let's talk about that for a second. There are frequently, or rather I should say, it is frequently given as a piece of advice when someone has hurt you very, very badly. And I'm talking about, like, therapists say this very, very frequently, and when you've suffered childhood abuse, when you have gone through a horrible relationship, a horrible divorce, things along those lines. It's very common for the advice to be, well, you need to confront the person, you need to come clean about your emotions, you need to come, scream at them, whatever. And proxies are fine, that's great. But a lot of people get very bunged up in the idea that this is part of a natural, necessary part of forgiveness, especially when somebody dies. As of right now, yeah, all my grandparents are dead. And I had severe issues with 3 of them. Well, 2 of them. One of them a little bit. And I had some aunties I did not like. And there was a number of people who passed on without being able to directly address their what they had done, especially when I was a kid. And when I was, I can't even remember where I was. I want to say it was like late 1990s, maybe early 2000s. When I'm reading up on this and I'm so eaten alive with all this anger and all this rage and all this hurt, and I have no idea what the to do with it. It occurred to me that there is no way that the universe could be designed in such a way where having to have that other person there is necessary. I mean, no one should have that kind of power over whether or not you can get on and live your life and heal. That's not a thing that should be. And the more I looked into it, the more I thought about it, the more I investigated, the more I tried out different things, the more I realized, no, you don't actually need somebody else. Would it be extremely gratifying to punch them in the face as you're, resolving your anger phase? Yes, but it's not necessary. No, it's not necessary. I'm mostly certain it's not necessary. Most of the time. Yeah, okay. But, so we can go on this journey ourselves. Okay, we can walk through forgiveness. We can, just like we can walk through grieving ourselves. Okay, and there is a specific process to this. Now, my advice, if you are kind of still in the early stages of dealing with your hurt and dealing with your pain, is to approach this in the form of a letter. And one of the reasons why we talked specifically before now about using words and about how to use words is that writing letters, and there was one of the assignments that we had was the unsent letter. And that's great. And I think a couple of people actually wrote it to people who'd passed on. Powerful stuff. But we're talking specifically about writing a letter on a specific topic. Okay, so the format is this. Dear such and such, I'm writing to you because this event happened and it fucked me up really, really bad. And these are the consequences that I've suffered as a course of this. Eating disorder, alcoholism, drug addiction, social anxiety. I don't know, just pick something. Angry all the time, scared of myself, whatever it takes. And introduce the problem in your first paragraph. Okay? Second paragraph, we're going to deal with denial. What were your feelings of denial? And what parts of denial are you still dealing with? I can't believe that you would ever do this. I had this problem with my father too. He couldn't have meant that. That's not a thing. That's not how that works. Denial. How did how could you even have done that? I mean, I can't wrap my brain around the idea that you're capable of this thing or that this even happened. I mean, I thought, it was a mistake. I thought it was an accident. And then or you were joking. Oh, joking's the big one. But when you didn't apologize, or when it kept going, most of the time we shift into anger. Now remember that we talked about anger before, and anger is a fear emotion. And when we are talking about forgiveness, and we're talking about this specific phase, and especially if we're talking about childhood experiences, okay? Anger and fear can kind of fall into the same paragraph, all right? Um, I was so scared because I thought blah, 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 blah. I was so angry because blah, 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 blah. And sometimes you have to kind of address one, then the other. So chronologically, I was scared here. This is what I was afraid of. Now I'm angry because this is what I found. Okay? Paragraph, and you can even split it into two paragraphs, I guess. Topics. Then sadness. Sadness is what happens after the fear and after the anger have dissipated, or after they occur. They don't even necessarily dissipate. Yes, you can experience both at the same time. Yes, you absolutely can be stuck in two phases at once. I always recommend do the letter first before you decide you're stuck, because we only want to tap on things that we have processed but can't release. All right? Does that make sense? All right. So, sadness. Why is this a bad thing? And I know it sounds like a weird question, but I'm sad because, you were somebody that I trusted. I'm sad because, I don't know if I can trust people again. I'm sad because, I'm afraid that, this is going to be, that I've lost this relationship that's supposed to be sacred and special, or whatever it is you're sad about in that context. And bargaining is a big deal. Now, bargaining is also, yes, if only I hadn't gone over there that day, or if only I had been paying attention, or if only I had fought harder, or if only I had, whatever. But it's also the regrets. I wish I had told somebody. I wish I had blown the whistle. I wish I had uh, just written you off, or whatever. Bargaining. Acceptance is the hardest part. But this is the most important part of this entire thing. And I need for you to say this out loud, write it down, embroider it on a pillowcase or whatever. Acceptance is not the same thing as approval. Acceptance is not the same thing as approval. You can accept that something happened to you. You can accept that you became stronger because of it. You can accept that you know how to, secure your wallet better. You know what neighborhoods to not walk in. You know that you can pick something. You've learned from this experience. Maybe it's guided you on a path where you get to help other people, and you would have never gotten there if you hadn't been injured in this fundamentally vital way. This happened. You're a bad person. I don't like you. Or I still love you, but I can't be around you. Or, we're going to work this out some way. Whatever it takes. What are you willing to reinvest in it? What is the logical answer to keep you from getting injured again? Apply your lessons. That's acceptance. It is not approval. We talk about a lot of things that will never, under any circumstance, be approved of. logical sense, doesn't make physiological sense, doesn't make legal sense, not going to be acceptable or is not going to be approved of ever. But remember, we talked about being grateful. Just for today, I will be grateful. It's a big part of this. Just for today, I will be grateful. And of course, we always talk about the Holocaust. We always talk about how it is horrible to ignore the benefits that came from millions of people dying, because then it means that their deaths were in vain. Does not justify ever happening again, but it does mean, something came of it. And if you guys missed that one, that was where the Third Reich in Germany put so many resources into funding the Holocaust and into creating that effect of, genocide of millions of people, 6 million people, something like that, that they didn't have the resources to actually take the military, or to meet the military goals that they had, which is why none of us are speaking German right now, in a very grand sense. So my recommendation always, before we get to the tapping part, is always, always, always write a letter first. And a lot of times what the letter will help you do is identify very specifically what your process is and where you might be stuck. In cases of PTSD, in cases where you're trapped in your own moment that's your own responsibility, or that is somebody else's responsibility, and there's a specific person. The process that we use, the tapping process that we use, once we understand what, we've written a letter, we understand what the events were, what the damage is, we've assessed it. This is our triage in a lot of cases. If it isn't enough of being a remedy of itself, and you'll know if it is, then it's time to tap, okay? I can't believe that he would do that, man. I thought he was joking, but, that's so weird. Even though I thought he was joking, I love and accept myself totally, tap, 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 tap. And I was so scared because he told me da-da-da-da-da, even though I am so scared because he told me da-da-da-da-da. I love and accept myself totally. Tap, 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 tap. And man, that makes me so fucking pissed off because, even though I'm pissed off because he said da-da-da-da-da, tap, 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 tap. And man, if only I hadn't gone over there that day, if only I had thought harder, if only I had better that, tap, 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 tap. This makes me so sad because tap, 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 tap. And acceptance. Now, acceptance is always a little weird when we're going through a forgiveness cycle of tapping, because, and for people who've hopped on here recently and don't understand exactly what I'm talking about, give me just a second, but post something in the chat and I will catch you up just a little bit. I have no problem doing that if you need me to. For the last phase, when we're looking at acceptance, we're not going to tap on, well, even though shit happened, life sucks, I love and accept myself totally. That's not where we're going with this. It can be, even though I don't feel like this person deserves forgiveness. And that's almost, say, 85% of the time, that's what the phrase ends up being. Even though I don't believe this person deserves forgiveness, even though I don't believe I deserve forgiveness, I love and accept myself totally. And then we are able to step away from it, and we are able to let go of it, we are able to release. And when you're able to go through the first phases, denial, anger, or fear, sadness, bargaining, etc., and you can't get past the last one, I highly recommend, if you decide that tapping is what you need to do, tap on each of the phases that you've identified, okay? Because you're not going to release over here if there's anything stuck over here. You have to go through all of it, and who knows which one it is. It's okay. It's not a problem. So that is That's the short version of how we get through the forgiveness process. It's the same as grieving. Um, and again, when we're talking about big things, please don't try to do this on your own. You have help by just being in this community, by even watching this video. You have help. You know how to get a hold of me. All right. And we don't have to meet. We don't even have to be face to face. We can do it from anywhere to anywhere. It's fine. I'm not getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I like sleeping. It's weird. But, you know, I will help you and I will be there for you if it is too big. Now, how do you know it's too big? How do you know if it's too much for you to handle on your own? If you cannot verbalize the words, if you cannot say the words, it's just too much. And you need a spotter. You need that because you don't want your emotions burying themselves down so deep that we have to work extra hard to get them back out. Okay, it's absolutely possible. I do it all the time, but it is not fun. And sometimes people don't want to be my friends afterwards because we have to get really serious about things, and it's not fun. As you're working through this stuff, do yourself a favor. Only work on one topic at a time. Okay. Only work on one wound per day or per few days. Give yourself time to kind of calm down. And try to start with the earliest one that you can, because a lot of times that will release everything that you thought you were pissed off about after that. Well, not everything, but a good portion of things. Because hurt and injury compounds upon itself. It's like a pothole. You know, you got a little bit of a pothole. As you're going down this road, man, this relationship road, you got this pothole, boom. Every time you hit that pothole, one, your car gets hurt, and two, the pothole gets worse. But if you go back to the very first pothole, you're going to be fine, because it's basically all the same pothole. It's a very weird analogy. I don't know. I'm still stuck on that, taking divots out of things. Something. At this point, does anybody have any questions? Okay. Okay. So not so far. That's fine. All right. If you're dealing with one topic, if you're dealing with one injury, one wound, and something else comes up, make a note of it, but put it to the side. But pay attention to the kinds of things that are popping up, because sometimes what happens is we think we're mad about one thing, but we're actually mad about another. That's how I inadvertently backed into discovering some latent insecurities that I had not been sufficiently able to take care of. And basically what happened was I was dealing with a completely different emotional topic that didn't really have anything to do with me directly. And while I'm sitting here and I'm meditating and I'm trying to calm down my intense emotional reaction, these other topics keep coming up, and these other thoughts keep coming up, and these other memories keep coming up, and it's like, what the shit? This, I should be, that was years ago. I shouldn't have to be dealing, oh, wait a minute. I didn't have a spotter. I wasn't actually able to deal with that. If you feel, and the other thing is, if you feel so intensely about a topic that you can't talk, don't try to force yourself through it. If you're bawling your eyes out and you can't gain control of yourself, don't force yourself through it, because the act of trying to talk and trying to put it in this format can sometimes bury the emotion, and we don't want to have to dig that deep. We want it to be on the surface. We want it to be easily accessible, so that we can get rid of it and you can get on with your life. Weird, right? Um, the beautiful thing for you guys is that I've already made the mistakes, so it's all good. Not all the mistakes on this one. I've not made all the mistakes on this one. Just some. And I'm telling you about those ones. Don't force it if you're by yourself and you can't talk, because you want your emotions to be accountable to somebody else. Do it with somebody you feel safe with. Do it with somebody that you trust, because that way those emotions will stay out and you can address them. The other one is, don't stop in the middle of a fucking session, especially if you're dealing with amorphous, or disconnected emotions. Because sometimes shit starts coming up right behind, and if you're not prepared to deal with them right afterwards, Bob's your uncle, there you go, bad shit happens. I think I've already talked about that before. I think that's what I had for this right now. Does anybody have anything else as far as grieving, forgiveness, and how to tap on that topic specifically is concerned? No? Anybody? Okay then. That's okay. A lot of times you aren't going to have something to tap on immediately, and that's fine. I mean, it's not a good idea to try to build your tools when you're in the middle of a crisis. The better way to do it is to get your tools before you need them, okay? Which is, why I still have a pancake air compressor and, circle saw and miter saw and all my power tools, because I don't know when I'm going to need them, but I have them. And that's all we're doing now, is we're building your tools. If you don't have something specifically to work on right now, then that's fine. You will, because life is not pretty. So I'm going to go over a couple of things again, and one of them is specifically for most of the people who take this class, and most of the people who are in on this topic. And somebody keeps jumping in and out. It's very weird. I want to talk about two things. I want to revisit the topic of ethics, because now we've reached a point where we have a lot more tools, and we have a lot more techniques, and we have a lot more things at our disposal to help other people. But before I get to the ethics part of it, I do want to talk about the wounded healer archetype. Okay, so almost everybody who's here is here because we got hurt and we learned to heal, or we want to learn how to heal. And more than that, we also want to help other people with whatever we've collected, right? So when we talk about being a healer, what is a healer? A healer is someone who, let me find the best way to put this. A healer is someone who provides an opportunity to someone else to heal. All right? We're not medical surgeons. We're not nurses necessarily. We're not life support machines. We're not. We are advisors, we're teachers, and absolutely nothing we do matters for shit unless the person on the other side of that relationship wants to heal. You remember way back at the beginning when we were back in the other room and I still had hair? It was so long ago. It was like, I don't know, like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. Assholes. Don't be an asshole. And if you find yourself as a healer dealing with assholes, cut them loose for a little while. Let them go and do on their own, because you don't need that kind of negativity in your life. You don't need to waste your energy and piss down a well. Okay? The people who need you. And you're going to be there for them. And that's fine. But if they're not willing to do their job, if they're not willing to take culpability in the healing process that they have, that they need to go on, there isn't shit you can do. It's much like people who go to see doctors. You know, if you don't want to get better, if you don't want to watch your diet, if you don't want to take your metformin, if you don't want to do, then guess what? You're going to be on insulin, honey. That's just the way it is. Take responsibility for your own shit. But the most important thing about being a healer and serving that role is that it is not hearts and flowers and sunshine and bunnies and unicorns jacking off rainbows and shit. It is dirty. It's nasty. It's painful. You get every type of viscera on you that the human body can produce, metaphorically and sometimes literally. So hopefully this is close enough that you guys aren't hearing any of that. If you're going to take the path of the healer, you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared for, and I think somebody went through this fairly recently, someone who says they want help, but not really. They want somebody to tell them it's going to be okay. They want somebody to be their emotional tampon. They want somebody to feed them emotional cookies all day. Fuck that. Nobody has time for it. We deal in emotional fried chicken. And eventually I'll post a recipe for that because everybody always asks. It's really good shit. Sarah knows what I'm talking about. One of the most important things about being a healer and about serving that purpose and being in that space is that when we understand that we're not the ones doing the healing, we're providing the tools, we're performing the functions, but it's actually the person we're working on that has to consciously do the healing, then we have to recognize that one of the most important attributes we need to foster is humility, or piety even. And that is to say, we have to understand our place. We have to respect our position and understand that we can do everything we want. We can do everything we can. We can do everything we need. If that person isn't going to heal because they don't want to heal, then that's just the way it is. And we don't have any right to force them to. We don't have any right to force them to. I don't know if you guys have seen The Incredibles. I've seen it, I don't know, like 14,000 times. And there's this one scene towards the beginning where Mr. Incredible he sees a guy who's jumping off a building. And he leaps and he rescues the guy and crashes through a window. And of course, Madcap Mayhem ensues, and there's Bon Voyage and, and Incrediboy and all that stuff. But then the guy turns around and sues Mr. Incredible because the guy was legit trying to commit suicide and instead lived and was injured and whiplash or, whatever. And it was bad. It was a bad thing. So here he is trying to save the day, basically against somebody's will, and then the superheroes got illegalized, or criminalized rather. That's kind of what happens sometimes when you're doing things and people don't want to. Of course, there are circumstances. There are situations where, yes, it is absolutely appropriate to have an intervention, but you don't really make that call unless you absolutely have to make that call. And not this session, but a little bit later, we are going to get a little bit more into the ethics of death and pain. Okay? Unless I get a wild hair up my ass and decide to talk about it this time. All right. So, the wounded healer archetype. Okay? I think I've had you guys write this down before, but I'm going to have you write it down again. I want you to write this down. You can never be sick enough to help a sick person. You can never be sad enough to help a depressed person. And you can never be poor enough to help a poor person. What that means is don't sympathize. Be compassionate. Don't try to match somebody's condition in order to help them. Speak to them in their own language. But it also means if you don't know how you got from sadness to not sadness, or from broke to not broke, or from sick to not sick, you don't have any place to speak in anybody else's life. You don't have any right to. You can't address that adequately. So let's talk about where the wounded healer archetype comes from as far as literature and history is concerned. So it starts originally with the centaur Chiron, who was the greatest doctor in Greek literature. He was a great teacher, and doctor actually originally means teacher. He was immortal. He was a demigod. He was meant to live forever, and he was the teacher of Heracles, and it helped raise a little tyke apparently at some point. They were really, really great friends. Well, during Heracles' fourth labor, yes, fourth labor, he had these arrows that had been dipped in this poisonous blood. One of them fell out of the quiver or was misfired in some way and struck Chiron in the leg. Now, any normal mortal creature would immediately have fallen over dead just like that, but because Chiron's immortal, he just was in a constant state of dying and a constant state of pain. So, did not do him a whole lot of good. That's right, he was a half Titan rather than being elemental, which is why it made him a little bit different from the other centaurs. So here he is in agonizing pain all the time, undying, literally undying pain. And instead of succumbing to it and begging for death and all of this other stuff, what he did instead was he went on a journey. And although he was already a great healer and a great doctor, he went on this journey and collected as many remedies as he could. And even if it didn't work for him, he knew something else that he could help other people with. So, this worked for a little while. And then he runs into somebody else who has the same problem. Well, it's going to work better for this other person because they're not immortal. This didn't work for him at all. But you know what? This kind of matches what you're going through. So here, try this. And that's how the Greeks attributed the body of knowledge on all different types of medicines throughout the years and centuries. But he exchanges these wisdoms with others. He shares them with other people, and he adds to his reputation. And eventually, for all of his great work, he is sent up into the heavens and allowed to die and retire as the constellation Sagittarius. Yay. We are each of us our own wounded healers. We are each of us the ones who have been through hell and back and want not only to be free of our own pain, but to spare others from going through the same process or going through it as long and unnecessary as we need to, or as we did. But it still comes back to the whole ethics thing, okay? Chiron didn't go, oh, well, you know, I'm in pain and you're in pain, therefore this is what you have to do. He's like, oh, well, no, let me share this. This happened. This is, you know, well, this might work for you. Let's talk about the ethics. Let's recap this. I think we talked about this point by point before, but we're going to go on it again. Do not, under any goddamn circumstances ever, perform Reiki or EFT on anyone without their permission. Now, how can you do EFT without somebody's permission? I've talked a little bit about proxying, okay? So when I'm doing EFT with somebody over the phone or over the internet or chat or text or whatever, I'm connecting with them with Reiki, Hanshizi Shonen, cranking it up as far as I can, and I have sort of their etheric body and image visualization in front of me that I'm interacting with, okay? And I'm tapping on me and I'm tapping on them at the same time, and this is called being proxy. You're sitting in front of someone who cannot say the words because they are in that big of a crisis. You have to connect with their energy and you have to tie in with them so that you can speak on their behalf, okay? And you don't say, even though you say, even though I feel this way, I love and accept myself totally, and you're saying it for them. And this is the intention that occurs in the event that happens when you're in this moment. I love my family. Somebody's making bacon, I think. Always. It's fantastic. So it is technically possible to go through the motions, but if you don't have their permission, you can do it. Okay, and yeah, that is really, really frustrating. It is really, really frustrating because like the person that Anthony was dealing with, okay? Why won't you listen? I have somebody in my life. Why? Do you have any idea how many of your problems could go the fuck away, no time flat, if you just let me do this one thing? No? Still no? Fine. It's cool. 2 reasons. 1, maybe eventually they'll come around. 2, there's more than one way to skin a cat. All right? You can't. I literally just said skinning cats. There's not time for you to be over here. Don't give me that look. And it's not your job to make them make that choice. It's just your job to provide the service should they be willing to accept it, should they want to. That's it. You can't and must not try to force it on anyone. Luckily, most of the time with Reiki, it doesn't even work, but trying to use it inappropriately can have a pretty significant effect, okay? Number 2, respect confidentiality and privacy. There are some cases that I talk about. Unless I have permission to use somebody's name, I don't use their name. Where possible, I don't even use genders. It is important for you to have examples and to understand, this is the type of thing that we can do. But it is not okay to talk about things like that outside of, um, guys, how can I tell you that? Um, maintain your privacy, maintain your stuff. I really would prefer if you, I mean, absolutely, please, by all means, keep track of all of your sessions, because you never know. Name, first and last name if you can, first name at the very least, the date that it occurs, date of birth. There are some circumstances in which I will actually take vitals for somebody who's sitting down with me. I do this a lot with vets. I do it a lot with people who are very obviously experiencing physical symptoms of PTSD and trauma, anxiety, things like that. And it's just, blood pressure and respirations, resting heart rate. And if necessary, if there is a concern, a glucometer, take blood sugar. Make sure everything is extremely, extremely sterilized. I have like special temporary, extremely temporary uh, sticks for that. Okay. And it's pretty rare that I do them in the first place. It's really the blood pressure and heart rate that's the important part. And if necessary, weight, as in how much somebody weighs. And the reason is that sometimes we're also dealing with things like eating disorders or emotional eating or things like that. And if it's something that people want to address and keep track of, then yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to help them however we can. But that's all personal medical health, not medical health information. And you don't share that with anybody, okay? Ever. It's just blood pressure. Yeah, I know. And it's none of your business to share it with anybody else. Unless it's the paramedics because the guy stroked out while he was sitting right there. Yeah, well, this is what it was a minute ago. Okay? There's a lot more, though, than people just sharing their stories with you. When we talk about confidentiality, some people don't want you to know, don't want their friends to know that they're seeing a therapist or that they're doing any type of therapy at all. So you don't discuss it with them. There have been times in certain classes where if I see somebody in another context, I don't talk to them about having seen them in class because it's nobody else's fucking business. We talk about some very personal things. We talk about some very intimate things. And I don't want to have to put them in a position to explain things that are weird, right? Oh yeah, I was dealing with, who the heck knows? Honor the person that you're working with and respect the people who are around you, okay? That means when the person you're working with maybe hasn't quite come out to themselves yet, don't push the issue. Respect where they are right now. Why, yes, I did have to deal with this fairly recently. Luckily, not with anybody we know directly. But just because you strongly suspect somebody's gay or bi or even straight, and they don't want to, they don't, or straight is a terrible word. You know what I mean? It's a relative term. Or monogamous or non-monogamous or whatever. That's none of your damn business. Respect where they are right now. Don't give anybody shit about being a vegan. Is being a vegan healthy? Not especially. Unless you are seeing them because They came to you in a health crisis. None of your goddamn business. Is it causing them stress because they're extremely anxious about the state of animals in the world? Okay, work on that, but do not try to judge them in any way, shape, or form for whatever bad habits you think they may or may not have. Unless that is what they are with you to address, stay the fuck out of it. The other part is respect the people around you. Please don't try to go and meet up and have our Reiki session in the middle of a goddamn cafe. Yes, I have sometimes had sessions and classes in shops, but we had that time specifically set aside for that in that shop. The shop was in on it. It was fine. Barnes & Noble, not so much. Because you are talking about intimate things. And in order for this type of training and this type of healing to be effective, you have to be comfortable talking about just about anything. Not going to happen in a cafe. Just trust me on that, okay? Bars, oh great. Yeah, no, not at all. Also, the other people around you could give two shits less. Or they might be offended. Or they might get angry. Most of the time when I have seen people, when I've seen students or healers try to have sessions and classes and stuff like that in public, it's usually because they want to dick wave a little bit, or they want to show off. Check your baggage at the door, honey. Nobody needs to see it. It's fine. If you think somebody's in health crisis, like legit health crisis, get their ass to a fucking doctor. You're not a doctor. Sorry. If you're trying to help somebody develop good habits so that they can get their diabetes under control, that's awesome. That's great. Don't tell them to stop taking their fucking medicine. Don't try to tell somebody that they don't need their antidepressants. Don't try to tell anybody that they don't need their ADHD drugs or their statins or their, not your fucking business. You're not a fucking doctor. Can you tell I'm a little mad about that sometimes? And lastly, like I said all along, what guides everything that we do? The 5 principles. That's it. Do you guys have any questions at this point? Okay. All right, so here's the assignment for the week. Okay. You need to write a forgiveness letter. Could be on something that you've already addressed. Your unsent letter does not count. You have to write a whole new one. Could be somebody you're mad at. Could be it yourself. Don't care. But you need to go through all of the phases, identify, and remember that the last paragraph is, this is how this has positively impacted my life. This is how this event has brought me to where I am now. Okay? Because the next things that I really want to get into are probably going to take a while. We're probably going to stop here at about an hour and a half, which is probably another maybe 10, 15 minutes, something like that. I will let you know that next week, what are we doing next week? Next week, yeah. I think next week we are actually going to be addressing dreams and accidental alchemy. Like the whole reason that I really sort of embrace the alchemy as brand is because magic is what you make. And we are the most magical things in our lives. We make all kinds of shit. And sometimes we make it accidentally, and we need to kind of be conscious of what happens there. this sort of healing process does naturally attract people who fancy sort of the alternative belief systems and things along those lines. People who want to know about prophetic dreams, about lucid dreaming, about, and most people really focus on that as far as precognitive dreams and premonitions are concerned. Reiki absolutely does improve your capacity to listen to your intuition as long as you let it. And that's the big part of it. Oh, excuse me. But we're going to get into that a lot more. I have a little bit of more research that I want to do on that topic. The other thing is, I don't think anybody has signed on to the Patreon yet. And you can find it, Alchemias, Alchemias. Tell your friends. I'm only going to give it maybe, I mean, I have some content up there right now. Pretty powerful content. And if that's not the way that people are going to go, then I'm just going to take the whole damn thing down. And that'll be that. Okay? The dream stuff, what I would really like you guys to do is ahead of next week's class, I want you guys to write down a couple of dreams that you've had. It could be a dream that you've had this week, something from a long time ago that has stuck with you, because I want to kind of show you how to analyze them according to your own mythology and how to assess what they mean for you personally. I think actually pretty much that's it. Does anybody have any other questions about actually, I guess now the two assignments you guys have right now? The first one is a forgiveness letter. And of course, by all means, if you find that you write the letter and you start getting emotional about it and you feel like you can't get past it, give me a ring and we'll work on it directly together. And then give me some dreams to work with. Give me some material that we can operate from. Okay? Any questions? No? No? You don't count. You're a cat. You know all this shit. You know all this stuff anyway. All right. Fantastic. So, of course, if you're new to the scene, then by all means, feel free to go back to the beginning. They're very entertaining. Session 1, however many fucks I have said, it's already been redeemed, so you have to start with section 2 and go on from there. The rule is tell me how many times I say fuck in the course of any given class accurately, and I'll send you a free book. And of course, you know, hit me up on my other channels if you have any other questions. Again, next week is going to be dreams and accidental alchemy. And then the last session is going to be kind of recapping everything, going over some of the assignments that have been handed in, and just sort of a general capstone. We may, I don't know, you guys tell me which one. Tell me which one to talk about. I was thinking about discussing Black Dog depression or autism or anxiety, and how we can use the tools that we've gotten, the tools that we've collected so far to deal with those different types of things. Forgiveness is just such a huge issue. It's just such a huge concept and such a massive part of what almost all of us have to struggle with as far as our healing processes are concerned, that you know, it definitely always gets to stand on its own without any problem. But we can absolutely address possibly how to use EFT for reprogramming it instead of releasing, you know, building good habits and things like that. So Thank you guys so much for joining me. I think I'm just about done here. They are cooking and it smells amazing, and my tummy is very, very rumbly now. But thank you guys so much. Dawn, that's me. Alchemy is Art is my thing. This is a course called Well Healed, and all of these classes are going to ultimately be released in a manual that you guys can get at a future point. So, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.